Welcome to Beautification Day. Excited to be out.
We want to welcome you, Holy Spirit, to be with us as we minister, cleaning these bathrooms and cleaning the Ohana Court. So we ask you for grace from heaven, Jesus. Stuff out here, we have to sweep and mop the whole Ohana Court. They're blowing it for us right now. It's a blessing. I'm Johnny Gillespie, and I want to talk to you today about being a servant and give you permission to just go wild in being a servant like Jesus is a servant. You might notice that I am slightly messy and dirty today. It was Beautification Day on the campus today, and I was cleaning the bathrooms in our big basketball court, which is where all our meetings are and all that kind of stuff. And I want to tell you a little bit about that and why I feel that's been important for me, and I want to give you permission to do crazy things like that. So the goal is that we get the super clean, smelling nice, because they get cleaned this nice once a quarter. It's on arrival day. Or this week, okay? But we want it to smell super nice for the students that are coming in and be super clean. So the way we do it is we set up these. Jesus was a servant. Jesus was a servant. One of my favorite verses in Philippians chapter 2, it talks about how Jesus, even though he was equal with God, he didn't consider equality with God something to be grasped, right? And it strikes my heart that all the way through history, the human problem is trying to be equal with God. And then Jesus comes along, even though he is equal with God, he goes, actually, that's not a thing that's important for me to hold on to. And then the next line it says, so he took the very nature of a servant, right? And then became obedient even to death, and death on a cross, which is just a wild deal, you know? So Jesus was a servant. We know that he was a servant. Why should you and I be servants? One of my favorite stories is in John chapter 13. And you might know it super well. It's where Jesus washes the disciples' feet, right? And after dinner, it says, the disciples are all eating dinner. And Jesus, it says some really interesting things before he starts to wash the disciples' feet. It says, knowing that he had come from God and was going back to God, and that God had placed everything under his feet. So all authority was given to Jesus. Jesus gets up from dinner, he wraps a towel around his waist, and then he starts washing the feet of the disciples. Obviously, the roads are dusty, filthy, nasty. They walk around all day long, and you come to someone's house, and your feet are covered in this filth. The disciples and Jesus come into dinner, and you can see the picture. They're all sitting down to dinner, and nobody has clean feet because no one was willing to take that role of being a servant to wash the feet of the people around them. Normally that would be the lowest of the low job, right? To wash these filthy, nasty feet. Someone comes to your house, you get your servant to wash their feet. And so Jesus is looking around the room, and he notices, okay, well, nobody has done it. So he thinks to himself, okay, God has given all authority in heaven and on earth to me. I know I came from God, and I know I'm going back to God. What this means is Jesus was under no illusion about who he was, right? And he realizes who he is. He goes, okay, I'm going to show them what it means to be a king in my kingdom. And he gets up, and he wraps a towel around his waist, and he takes the lowest of the low position to wash the feet of his disciples. It's not the funnest job, but it's an important job. And it's one that I think blesses a lot of people and blesses the Lord, I'm reminded that we need to be willing to take the lowest place, and in our society right now, cleaning the toilets is like, I don't know if it's the lowest, but it's a job not many people like to do. So I'm thankful that I always have some buddies to do it with me. Otherwise, it'd be a little bit more low than it is right now, I guess. I think, this is one job that I do like every now and again, But I think really, for me, just taking the time to clean the bathrooms on the campus. You know, there's a bunch of different places that we could clean. But cleaning the bathrooms it's a reminder for me of actually Jesus always took the lowest place. That's what he was about. This helps me remember, you know, even as I am a leader, I'm growing in responsibility, I'm growing in authority, I'm growing in the way people listen to my words and respect what I have to say. But actually, like, taking the lowest place, this is who Jesus calls us to be. The reason that I love cleaning the bathrooms, you know, I do it every 3 months here before our new students arrive. The reason that I do it is because it reminds me, you know, when I'm in the filth. I mean, they're pretty bad 3 months after students. They get cleaned weekly, but they get bad. It reminds me, actually, this is who I am. I want to be someone who is with Jesus, doing what he does, and he calls us to do it too. The crazy promise is, if we, knowing the calling that we have, knowing our identity as sons and daughters of God, knowing that all authority in heaven and earth has been given to Jesus, and then he's called us to walk out his authority on the earth, we choose to serve, then we are literally walking in the identity and the calling of who Jesus is. I think it's so good for your soul to find ways to radically serve and to radically love, you know? I think it keeps your heart tender, and it keeps you aligned with Christ. One of my favorite songs is this Misty Edwards song. It's called "The Servant of All." And she says this wild line. She says, "I want to be your lover, so show me how to go lower. In the depths I will find you when I'm serving my brother." And then she says to Jesus, "I want to be with you where you are. You're the servant of all." And if you look through history, there's so many amazing spiritual mothers and fathers. Think of like Mother Teresa, you know, who recognize this thing of when we're serving, we're actually close to Jesus because this is where he is. There's a few ways that this plays out in my life, right? So, I mean, first off, at home, this totally looks like me being willing to do the dishes, do the laundry, clean the bathrooms, you know, do whatever is necessary to bless my wife, my 3 kids, other people that are around me in my house, okay? That is completely radical servanthood and not being asked, but just willing to go for it and do my best and go the extra mile, right? But even more than that, you know, with coworkers, it looks like being willing to take the difficult jobs and go first. With the people that I lead, it means not asking them to do something that I'm not doing first and doing right alongside with them. You know, I own a business. With my customers, it looks like going the extra mile to bless them, to take care of their needs, not just because it's good customer service, but because I'm actually serving them as a follower of Jesus. Find opportunities. Ask the Lord to show you ways that you can serve radically. It doesn't have to be complex. It can be the simple things, right? But it looks like going the extra mile, and it looks like taking the lowest of the low. So maybe even ask Jesus, what is the lowest of the low in your life? You know, what's the lowest of the low job? What's the most humble place that you could find yourself in your situation, in your workplace, in your family, in your church community, whatever communities you're in, look for the lowest of the low. I guarantee you're going to find Jesus there. One last thing that I would say, I think it's easy to serve. I think it can be easy to serve when people are watching, you know, especially in our church community. We have context for who Jesus was, who Jesus is. It's easy to serve when people are watching. Look for the times when you can serve when no one would know. I think those are some of the richest times when you can choose the low road and find Jesus and serve your brother. And you know no one's ever going to know. Because that means you are communing with the heart of God in that moment, and it's just for him.